Alright guys, so we have a 2017 Ford F-150, and this truck all of a sudden got a bunch of indication up on the instrument panel. Hill start assist not available. It's got an ABS light. And it's got other stuff too. What is it? Hill descent control fault. It's got about 3 or 4 different indications up here on the instrument panel. So I've got the scan tool hooked up. First thing we're going to do is just obviously do a scan for codes. Get this seat back. And I'm just using the launch. My Autel or my X tool would also be just fine for this. Now, since we have an ABS fault, that's the first thing I want to take a look at. The hill descent and the traction control, that was another, that was something else that was up on the instrument panel, the cluster. All that works by using your ABS. So if your ABS is faulted in any way, it in-ops all that stuff. Your traction control, your hill descent, your stability control, all that stuff is going to be in-op, because if it can't control your brakes, your individual brakes, by applying one individual brake or all brakes or releasing or whatever, then it just in-ops anything that requires the ABS to work. So let's go over here to the ABS module. I'm going to try to get through this as quick as possible. And we're going to see what codes we got. Read fault code. Okay, so we have 3 front left wheel speed sensor faults. So let's do this. Let's go over here. Let's read some data stream. What all we got here? There's left rear, left front. That's the one we're going to focus on. Let's go ahead and get them all up here. There's right front and right rear. That's probably all we really need to look at. We'll do vehicle speed also. Let's hit OK. So let's see. So far, of course, the main thing we're going to be doing is comparing these 4 right here. That's all 4 of your wheel speed sensors, and right now they all look perfect. So I'm going to try to back up just a little bit, and we're going to see if we can see some change here. And yes, we do. Except for the left front. We're not seeing any change at all on the left front. So the left front wheel speed sensor definitely is not working. So now let's go out under the hood, find the connector. First thing I think I'm going to do, I'm just going to get to the connector, disconnect it. I'm going to ring the wheel speed sensor to see what resistance it's showing. And hopefully that right there is going to tell us what we need to know. Obviously, more than likely, the left front wheel speed sensor is bad, but a quick ring out will confirm that, if that's the case. Okay, here we are. So the left front, obviously, is the driver's front. And I don't know if you can see that. It looks like it's already been unclipped at least once. That's supposed to be clipped down in there. So let me get this thing unplugged. Let me get the camera mounted. Okay, so to undo these, you got to pull back on this little red connector, push down on this tab here, and it should just unplug just like that. Pins look perfect. I'll get my meter. Okay, what it's showing is 500,000 ohms. Let me, I don't know. I'm just going to hit both those pins. I'm going to try to put the meter here so you can see the reading. Where'd it go? There it is. That should be it. So 504 kilo ohms, or 500,000 ohms is what that's reading. That is not right. These sensors should actually read a lot higher than that. Alright guys, so I've got the new sensor here. Let's see what it ends up looking like. And this is what the sensor actually looks like. And here's our connector right here. Yeah, you can see the meter. Okay, now this one's reading. Hold on. When you're ringing these, you don't want to touch these. You don't want to touch these with your fingers because that actually throws your reading off. So I've got to be able to finagle these in there without touching the leads and being able to hold the connector. There we go. Nope, sorry. 4.1 mega ohm. So 4 mega ohms, that's 4 million ohms. Hopefully that's coming through. That's actually a better reading for these. Now a lot of times on most things you would ring that and you'd think that was bad. That is generally considered an open. That's a lot of resistance, but that's what a new one should ring at. So let me get this thing jacked up, and we're going to get this sensor swapped out. Okay, first thing I'm going to do, there's an 8mm here for the ABS wire, and then there's a 10mm here holding the brake line to the knuckle. I'm going to go ahead and take those out. Obviously, I'm going to need to have the 8mm out for the ABS wire out so I can change that. And I'm going to take the brake line off just to give me more slack. So whenever I hang it over here on this hole, it's not going to be banjoed. What is that, 21? 21 for these big bolts. For the caliper bracket. Get a hammer on that. this thing needs a wheel bearing. Do you hear that? That does not sound good at all. So let me call this customer, see if he wants me to replace this wheel bearing for him. Alright guys, so I'm back, got the hub, and like I said, it does come with the wheel speed sensor, so we're not going to have to change just this wheel speed sensor. I'm going to show you what this bearing sounds like and why we're replacing it, if you didn't hear it earlier when I first found it. But if you was just replacing your wheel speed sensor, clean that off with some compressed air or a brush or whatever you've got. That way you don't get stuff falling down into it. Take that bolt out and then pull your wheel speed sensor out. There's the wire. Trace it up. Get to the connector. You've got a got a little deal right here, little clip that you're going to unclip, and then like I say, the connector will be right up there. You got another one of those clips right there, and then you should be able to get that whole sensor out. But at this point I'm going to go ahead and start getting this hub taken apart, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Basically what we got 4 bolts. You got these 2 here, 2 more on the bottom. It's these right here. Got the axle nut. We're going to pull this cap off, take this nut off, and then hopefully this thing's not in there too tight. Sometimes they're in there tight. Sometimes they pop out pretty easy. So let me get the camera mounted. Be careful with this cap because it is kind of soft. But I usually just come in here with a pair of channel lock type pliers and it'll pop right off. 13. You generally don't want to tighten this up with a impact. Taking it off is fine, but you can snap that little stud off of the axle, and that's not going to be a good thing. That should push freely. So now the only thing we got is these 4 bolts, and we'll be able to get this hub off here. I've already got the wire all undone here. Whew. She's coming. And there she is. I don't know if you can hear that. That's what a good one's supposed to sound like. Alright, now before we put this up in here, what the book tells you to do is pull a vacuum on your IWE. Now you may not have to do this, but what it's going to do is pull that splined circular gear out of the way. And I just use a mighty vac, that's all I use there. You may not have to do that, but you may have to fight a little bit and make sure that you're turning the hub, which I'm going to do anyway, because you want to make sure that it seats all the way in here without binding up on anything. Hopefully all that made sense. So anyway, let's get on with this. And the first thing I'm going to do is just make sure that this surface right there is good. Of course, put everything in loose before you start tightening it all up. And I always turn the hub to make sure nothing's bound up. Now, just to show you, if you don't have a vacuum on it, let me show you what happens when you try to put it together. Hopefully you can hear that. Those are those teeth, they're not meshed together. And if you got them both sides on the high point, when you tighten that up, you're going to damage the IWE. So you need to rotate this if you're not going to pull a vacuum on it, and make sure that those gears are meshing together. Otherwise, you may be buying a IWE. And you can see now, with a vacuum applied to it, that it's pulled away and it's not going to couple it together. That's what activates your that's what engages your hub and your drive axle, so your four-wheel drive will work. Okay. So I'm going to tighten up or snug up 2 corner bolts to suck this hub in evenly. So, okay, that's starting to go. I'm going to come over here. Make sure that everything's still moving freely. Make sure that the axle, hopefully that's coming through. I don't know if you can see this little stud right here, but make sure that your drive axle splines are engaged too. Now that this is all snugged up, if I release the vacuum on this, now the drive axle is engaged to the hub. So that's all good. And again, to disengage it, I'm going to pull a vacuum and it disengages that hub. And that's how that works. That one. Okay. And again, don't tighten this up with an impact. Now I'm just going to run it down with an impact, but I'm not going to actually start torquing on it. It does not take a whole lot of torque. That's probably good right there. 8mm for the ABS line itself. And then the 10mm for the brake line. And then don't forget to clip your ABS line into its little rubber bracket right there. Just to give you an idea of what it looks like. Got the little clips here, got the clip up there. You can see the back side of it. So other than putting the wheel on and plugging the connector in up top, down here we're done. So we got our new hub. It came with the brake sensor. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get this tire mounted up. I'll get it lowered, and then whenever I turn the camera back on, we'll get that connector routed and plugged in up top, and then we'll clear everything, take it for a test drive, and we'll see if anything comes back. So till then. Alright guys, so it's all put back together. I'm just going to hit clear DTCs. We're going to clear everything, and then we're going to drive it, and we'll see what kind of instrumentation we get. Oh, by the way, I did try to clear the ABS fault before I even started, and it came back instantly. Okay, so right now we're all green, it's all showing normal. Oh, set that out of the way. Oh, you know what? I mean, a test drive would probably be just fine, but let's do this. Let's go over here to live data, and we will monitor our wheel speeds just to say we did. So there's all our wheel speeds, and they are all showing to be working. Let me get going down the road here, and I'll give you a better view. Maybe. Yeah, it looks like everything's good. Now before, the code would come back instantly. You'd get all that verbiage up on the instrument cluster. You know, the ABS light would be on, the traction control would be disabled, hill assist disabled, you know, all that good stuff. But so far, other than a seatbelt timer going off, everything looks good. Alright. Anyway, we're done. Everything up on the cluster looks good. Nothing out of the ordinary. So, wheel speed sensor, and it turned into a hub bearing. So, anyway, you guys take care.